my privilege to introduce the Hause Lectureship. As you know, we are blessed in this department to have many named lectureships, almost one in every division, and the Donald Hause Lectureship is one of our more long-standing lectureships. Dr. Hause was one of the first plastic surgeons in Sacramento and started his career in what was the old county hospital before it was abandoned by the county and purchased by UC Davis to become its academic medical center. So with that, and I have a personal pleasure in the invited speaker this year, as he was my chief resident when I was an intern at the University of Washington, among his many other outstanding attributes. But I will turn the morning over now to Dr. Li Pu to introduce Dr. Vedder.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Good. All right. Good morning. It's my distinguished pleasure and honor to introduce our Hause lecturer, Vice Professor Dr. Nick B. Vedder. He will serve as a 2022 Hause lecturer Vice Professor for Division of Plastic Surgery, Department of Surgery. Sorry, let's go this way. Good. All right. Dr. Vedder currently the Professor of Surgery and Orthopedic Surgery, and also Jimmy Hunter Endowed Chair in Reconstructive Plastic Surgery. He's also the Chief of Division of Plastic Surgery and also Vice Chair of Department of Surgery at the University of Washington in Seattle. Dr. Vedder received a medical degree from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, and also did a general surgery at the University of Washington in Seattle with Dr. Farmer when she was there. He did 2 years NIH research fellowship during the general surgery training, and subsequently Dr. Vedder did his plastic surgery residency at MGH and Howard Medical School in Boston. After his plastic residency, he returned to Seattle and did, I believe, the first hand surgery, served as first hand surgery fellow at the Department of Orthopedic Surgery at the University of Washington. So Dr. Vedder is full-time faculty at the University of Washington since 1990, and promoted fast to the full professor. And he was appointed the chief of plastic surgery in 2001, and also vice chair of Department of Surgery in 2001. In 2018, he was awarded Jimmy A. Hunter Endowed Chair in Reconstructive Plastic Surgery. Dr. Vedder is a world-renowned hand reconstructive plastic surgeon. He's a very visionary and accomplished leader in academic plastic surgery. I know Nick is always very proud that he was able to build one of the best plastic surgery training program in the country. Currently with 17 full-time faculties, a complete integrated plastic residency with 30 residents, and also 7 clinical fellows that were doing fellowship training in hand surgery, craniofacial surgery, and microsurgery. So we have our former chief resident who is actually doing microsurgery fellowship right now, Dr. Ping Sang at the University of Washington. Dr. Vedder has held many leadership positions in national society. He's a past chair of American Board of Plastic Surgery. He's also past director of American Board of Surgery. He's past president of American Association of Plastic Surgeons, past president of Plastic Surgery Foundation, past president of American Association for Hand Surgery, past president of American Council of Academic Plastic Surgeons, and also past chair of Plastic Surgery Research Council. Dr. Vedder has made many scientific contributions, has received many awards. He published 70 journal publications, many are actually published in high impact factor basic science journals. He published 21 book chapters. He has served 25 visiting professorships. He has been given 46 invited lectures. He has received NIH funding and many research grants. And obviously, by reviewing his CV, he has received many honors, awards throughout his distinguished career. Dr. Vedder has many professional memberships, including American Surgical Association, American Association of Plastic Surgeons, American Society of Plastic Surgeons, and American Society for Hand Surgery, Surgery of the Hand, and also American Association for Hand Surgery. He's a member of the American Society and also World Society of Reconstructive Microsurgery. Obviously, he's the fellow of American College of Surgeons. So on behalf of Division of Plastic Surgery, Department of Surgery at University of California, Davis, we welcome Dr. Vedder's visit, and he will spend the whole day with us to exchange knowledge, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot from Dr. Vedder. Today, he's going to talk about the joy of surgery as he's a Hause lecturer. Dr. Vedder, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Good. Where's mine? Where's this one? Yeah. Oh, okay, you're right. Wrong one. Yep. There we go. All right. Yeah. Share it to Zoom. There we go. Fantastic. I think I'll take my mask off for this, although I do enjoy wearing the mask inside. I'm one of the few who has yet to get it, and I don't want to get it, even though my wife has had it. But it's, boy, this has been a rough several years. So it really is an honor to be here. Lee, I don't recognize who you just introduced. It's not me. But it really is a lot of fun. So I'm going to be talking about something pretty light today, but I hope it resonates with all of you, the joy of hand surgery. Do the right arrow here. So this is where I come from, UW-Medicine, University of Washington in Seattle. 5 hospitals, a large healthcare system covering the Northwest. This includes Airlift Northwest. The Division of Plastic Surgery, there on the right, and as Lee said, we now have 16 full-time faculty going to 18. UW Hand is our combined orthopedic plastic surgery hand service that's been in existence since 1990, when I was the first hand surgery fellow, and it's something I'm very proud of. And then I work at Reperfusion Medical Center, where Jerry and I grew up together. It's the only level 1 trauma center for 5 states and a population base of 11 million people. So we see some interesting stuff. So I was first invited in 2019, and then was supposed to give it in 2020, and then 2021, and now finally here we are in 2022 for the 33rd Donald Hause Memorial Lecture. And as Diana said, I found online that Dr. Hause was really the first plastic surgeon in the Sacramento area, which is amazing. Providing patient care at the old county hospital, and that certainly resonates with me. Harborview is the county hospital in Seattle. Highly respected within the Sacramento medical community and the UC Davis academic medical community, and I know that his son Donald is a respected plastic surgeon here in Sacramento today, so it really is an honor to be here. Some previous Hause lectures, and I thought that the last one was 2018 because that's what it had online, but I saw in the brochure that Gregory Dumanian was here in 2019. Gregory was actually the surgery R2 in the ER at the Mass General when I was a plastic surgery resident, and he showed me how to reduce a nasal fracture, which I had never done before. He showed me where to go into the cupboard, unlock cupboard, and get the 4% cocaine that you put up someone's nose to reduce their nasal fracture. We've been good friends ever since. And then in 2018, one of my dear friends, Linda Phillips, was the 2018 Hause lecturer, and she was just recently the president of the American Association of Plastic Surgeons. And this talk that I'm going to give today is a version of my talk from my 2019 presidential address. Linda and I are very dear friends. I'm very proud of her and proud of our friendship. And then back in 2015, one of my good friends, Peter Nelligan, whom I recruited from Toronto to the University of Washington in 2006, and he built our microsurgery program at our University Medical Center from 2 to 6 fellowship-trained microsurgeons, which is the largest microsurgery program in the country, other than MD Anderson, which has no residency. And as all of you know, he is the editor of the textbook of plastic surgery, so everybody knows Peter Nelligan. He just retired about a year ago. And then, as Diana said, Diana Farmer, she was a UW medical student when I was a UW surgery resident, and then was an intern when I was a chief resident. And we've been friends ever since. And as you all know, she is the president of the American Surgical Association, the oldest and most prestigious surgical organization in the world. So I'm very proud of you, Diana. And then, of course, Jerry Jerkovich. He was the chief of trauma at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle from '88 to 2012, and so we spent 22 years together growing up as young faculty at Harborview, and our kids grew up together, and Jerry and I and Dee and my wife have been good friends ever since, and they still own their house on Mercer Island 2 blocks from ours. So when Jerry finally retires, we hope to see a lot more of he and Dee. And then, of course, Tom Stevenson, dear friend, who was the professor-in-chief here from '89 to 2017. We served together on the American Board of Plastic Surgery, and when Tom was the chair, he appointed me a chair of the oral exam, which led to me becoming chair of the board. So I owe Tom a lot. We served together on the RRC during the last major revisions of the program requirements that are still in effect today. I'm sad to learn that he's suffering from Parkinson's and is not here today, but I wish him well. And then, of course, Lee Poo. I first met Lee when he was a resident in University of South Florida when I was looking at the chief job there. And so we've traveled the world together, talking at various meetings around the world. So the joy of surgery. And then really, for me, it's the joy of academic surgery, and I think it probably is for the faculty in this room. And for me specifically, it's the joy of academic reconstructive plastic surgery. But for you, it's whatever surgery you do. And I think you can find joy in whatever you do as a surgeon. And that's what I'm going to try to get to today. So why and how I find it, why it's important, how you can find it too. And then at the end, some lessons I've learned along the way. So my goal today, be sincere, be brief, and then be seated, as Franklin Roosevelt said. So why find joy in surgery? Well, you all know this saying, choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And that is so true for me. I am truly at 0 on the burnout scale because I love what I do. So if you can help your colleagues and trainees find joy in surgery too, then all of surgery will flourish. So how do I find it? Well, every day I get up, I know that day I may have an opportunity to make a difference in a patient's life that will last them for their entire life. My God, I cannot think of anything more rewarding on earth. So our gift as reconstructive plastic surgeons, and really for all of surgery, is to save and rebuild lives, both our patients and our own. So when you look at plastic surgery, we are the most schizophrenic specialty in surgery and probably in all of medicine. So cosmetic surgeon, breast surgeon, reconstructive surgeon, craniofacial, hand, burn, microsurgery, and hopefully some combination of all of those. But really what plastic surgery is about is developing creative approaches to difficult problems everywhere in the human body. And as I like to say, we are the last true general surgeon who literally operate from head to toe. And then we also solve everybody else's most challenging problems. That's our role as plastic surgeon, is to solve everybody else's most challenging problems. So we don't own any system or area of the body. The only thing we own is innovation, and our innovations become the standard of care, and they have been. Looking back at skin grafting, flaps, the whole transplantation started with Joe Murray at the Brigham, microsurgery, craniofacial, et cetera. And other specialties eventually incorporate our innovations. I don't think it's competition, it's just evolution. But if we as plastic surgeons don't continue to innovate, we won't have a specialty. And so we need to continue to innovate. So the joy of surgery, and this is what I'm going to touch on, these areas, in finding it in patient care, in teaching, in research and innovation, in fellowship, and then finding a joy in each of those areas, hopefully every day of the year. So starting with patient care, certainly my patients have had the single greatest influence on my career. I look to my patients every day for my moral compass. It's the reason I enjoy so much being a reconstructive plastic surgeon. When I look back at some of my great cases, 5-digit amputation that we spend almost 24 hours putting them back on, revascularizing them, hooking up all the structures, and really converting a functionless hand into a totally functional hand again. So rebuilding this patient's life so that he could go back to using his hand for the things that he enjoyed, working in his shop and actually being an engineer at Boeing. young woman working in a fish processing plant whose hair was a little bit too long, got caught in the machine, ripped off her scalp, part of her ear there you can see taken off. And so there it is at the scrub sink, kind of looks like a Halloween mask, and there you can see where it always rips off just below the eyebrows. And there it is replanted after a dozen microsurgical anastomoses, arterial and venous. It's alive again. It's alive again. Missing a bunch of crushed skin on the left side, so a skin graft there. And so how do we treat that? Well, we use the magic of plastic surgery and put a tissue expander under the recently replanted scalp, the first time it had ever been reported. And so expand it up. She's not too happy there, but when we take it out, you can see that we're able to bring her hairline down to where it normally was. And she had a ptosis, brow ptosis on the right that I did a number of indirect brow lifts on, and it finally kept drooping down. So I did a direct brow lift with an incision right over the brow, and that brought it up. But eventually it settled down, and at 2 years, that's what she was like. So rebuilding patients' lives, that's what we do as plastic surgeons. And I got a 20-year follow-up on her a few years ago, so rebuilding lives. A young 7-year-old girl who was out boating on Lake Washington with her family and inner tubing. And at the end of the day, they took off. The mom tied off the inner tube. The kid was sitting in the back, and they took off at 40 knots. Well, the inner tube came loose and took off like a kite in the air, and her feet were in the coiled rope. So the coiled rope pulled her out of the boat at 40 miles an hour, 50 feet into the air, and nearly amputated both of her feet. So there it is on the right side. Fortunately, some of the tibial nerve was intact, some of the tendons were intact. Able to put a plate across it and revascularize it with long vein grafts, both for the artery and vein, and got it to live again. Subsequently, the crushed area underwent necrosis, and we were down to the tendons again. So did a latissimus dorsi free flap, skin graft, and eventually that did it. So 6 months later, there she is with her pink polished toes, back doing stuff that kids do, playing on the beach in Hawaii, surfing, riding her bike, and certainly one of my favorite patients for sure. And she, a few years ago, gave me this photograph that sits by the door of my office, and so I see it every day I go home, and it reminds me why I love doing what I do. Here she is on her middle school lacrosse team, the lead scorer on her middle school lacrosse team, cutting right on her replanted foot. And so when I was president of the Plastic Surgery Foundation, I gave her the Patience of Courage Award, and there at the big auditorium in Boston, she ran from the back of the room, barefoot, in front of 5,000 people to accept this award. Another grateful patient, Jamie Hunter, who was nearly crushed, killed by a boulder the size of a refrigerator rolling down Mount Adams when she was up climbing there, and nearly died from that. The local hospital stopped the bleeding, saved her life. She was transferred up to Harborview, where I spent a year putting her back together again, putting her life back together again, and now I'm the Jamie Hunter Endowed Chair. So simple cases can change lives too. A 3-minute carpal tunnel release can return a Boeing engineer or a hand surgeon like me, there's my scar right there, to my career. It's just amazing. 45-minute thumb CMC arthroplasty, returning someone to their activities of daily living, knitting, woodworking, whatever it is. Here's my normal Tuesday. This is where I should be right now. 0700 brief outside of room 25 and 26 in the ORs at Harborview. 2 rooms, 14 cases, and here's the whole group of residents, fellows, nurses, anesthesiologists going over the cases for the day. And so 14 opportunities to make a difference in someone's life. And then when the resident gets to break the speed record doing a carpal tunnel release in 3 minutes, it makes it even better. So there's my carpal tunnel release. I had that about 8 years ago and totally changed my life. So find joy in every case you do, because every one can change someone's life, and that is just amazingly powerful and rewarding. So UW Hand, this is the combined hand surgery service that we have at the University of Washington. It is my counterpart in orthopedics, Doug Hannell on the left. Jeff Friedrich is my plastic surgery senior partner on the right. Doug Hannell has been the long-term program director of the orthopedics residency. Jeff Friedrich is the program director of our surgery, plastic surgery residency, and we've been a joint team for the last 32 years, and it's been incredibly rewarding. So it's a 32-year-old dean's level agreement between orthopedics and plastic surgery with training in either one. You have to have completed an accredited hand fellowship, and then you get certified by the ABMS board in hand surgery. But your primary clinical focus is hand surgery. So we have 5 ortho and 3 plastic attendings right now, all with cross-departmental appointments. I have a joint appointment in orthopedics. We're now hiring 2 more plastic hand surgeons, so we'll be equal at 5 and 5 or 10 altogether, and then eventually my ortho partner and I will retire and leave it to the young folks. So it's a unique orthopedic plastic surgery collaboration. I think one of the best in the country. It's a national and international model of collaboration, and it's based on one thing, and that's mutual respect. And we have it in spades, and we've had it since the beginning, and with everyone we hire, they have to have that same mutual respect. If you don't have that mutual respect, you can't force this. It has to be grown organically, and we've done that from the very beginning. And it leads to excellence in clinical care, education, research. We now have 110 hand fellow graduates, and as Lee said, I will always be number one. Our fellows made this a couple of years ago, the UW Hand Superheroes. There I am, Batman, holding an anchor because they know I'm a sailor. My partner, Doug Hannell, Dr. Evil up front. So it's been a lot of fun. So find joy in collaboration. I certainly do. The collaboration that we have between orthopedics and plastic surgery is one of the most rewarding aspects of my career every single day. And then the division of plastic surgery that was very small when I first got there and now has grown to be quite large. This is our new logo. I don't know if you can see what's plastic surgery or UW in there, but there's Mount Rainier, which is just to the south. UW, so in the waves, we're surrounded by water. And the symbol of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons is 2 moon crescents. Well, I put that up there, and my good friend Mike Reed, who's the legal counsel for the ASPS, said, no, you can't do that. So we took half of it away, so now we have a half moon. So now you know what that symbol means. So in 1977, Lauren Engroff started plastic surgery at the University of Washington, basically to do the burn reconstruction. So what he did was burn reconstruction, almost essentially all burn reconstruction. I did my surgery residency there, eventually got interested in plastic surgery, went to Mass General. And then when I came back to join the faculty, which had been my intent in 1989, they were back to 1 faculty member. So I joined a division as the 2nd faculty member in 1990. And along with me that year, we brought on Joe Gruss from Toronto, a pioneer in craniofacial surgery, the first surgeon in North America to use plates and screws on the facial skeleton. Richard Rand came up from UCSF, and that was the reboot. And we've grown since then to where we are now with 16 full-time faculty in the process of recruiting more. There's the Harborview group at the top, 3 hand surgeons, me, Jeff Friedrich, and Aaron Miller. Carrie Keys is our quarterback at Harborview. We're hiring 2 more hand surgeons. This is the group at the University Medical Center, 6 full-time microsurgery fellowship-trained microsurgeons doing 2, 3, 4 free flaps every day. And then the children's group at the bottom, led by Rich Hopper, who's the leading craniofacial surgeon of his generation and really today. And he has a group of 6 there, 5 craniofacial surgeons, by far the largest craniofacial program in North America, and then Shane Morrison, who's our first gender-affirming surgeon, and that program is really taking off. And I'm proud to say 1/3 women. Our residency is even better than that, but we're 1/3 women. Our family, teaching, our family. This is our UW family. This is our residents. We have been for a year. We're going to 5 years, so soon we'll be up at 30, and soon to be 30, 70% women. I'm really proud of that. This year we have all 4 guys as hand surgery fellows, but we usually have a mix. And down at the lower left is Ravi Sood, who's going to be joining the faculty here, and he's just awesome. He's on my service now, and he's just fabulous. He followed my pathway to a T. So he did his surgery residency at the University of Washington, plastic surgery residency at Mass General, and hand surgery fellowship at the UW. So I know that he is well trained, and he will fit in really well. So residents and fellows, they're the future of our specialty. They are our adult children. They're our colleagues, our friends who will someday take care of us. And in my case, they already do. I had my chief resident do my carpal tunnel release. So they are our UW family. So this is the joy of working with residents and fellows is just something I can't express in words. And here we are at the end of a case, and Diana, I don't know if you recognize Kelly Ledbetter there. So the daughter of Dan Ledbetter, Dan and I were interns and surgery residents together, and Dan and Sonny are good friends with Diana. So all of these people in this picture have gone or are going into academic plastic surgery. So I'm really, really proud of that. And then when they win the residence, when they win the first prize at the Residence Bowl at the ASPS, it's even more fun. So that was a couple of years ago. Our chief residents won the Resident Bowl at the ASPS. And if we finish the OR early, I take them out to lunch at the local Sichuan restaurant. So this is having fun with your adult children, which is what I like to consider it. And then when my patient who owns half of downtown Seattle gives me front row seats to the Mariners, I take a resident along with me. So here's Brinkley Sandvall cozying up with the Mariners moose. And then every July and August, we get new additions to our family. It's so cool. I get new kids every July and August. And for me, it's an opportunity to take them boating, and that is my passion. So all of our residents learn how to sail. There's out sailing on our 52-foot sailboat out on Puget Sound, out on the saltwater. There's Aaron Miller, Brinkley Sandvall, both went on to be hand surgery faculty, Brinkley at Vanderbilt, and then Aaron is one of our faculty at the University of Washington. And there's the group of residents up front coming back into Seattle. So we spend a lot of time out in the water. Here's our powerboat at home, getting ready for Hand Journal Club. So this is Hand Journal Club on Lake Washington. Take the residents out inner tubing whenever we finish early, and it's a lot of fun. Here we are sitting with Mount Rainier in the background and the moon rising in the back. A lot of fun. This is July 1st, a number of years ago. Finished the OR early. Mitch Pett, faculty at WashU. Janelle was one of our faculty. Kate Impastato, this is our first day of internship. Not a bad way to start internship. So at the AAPS meeting, when I was the president, our chief resident submitted this abstract that didn't get accepted, but I love it anyway. So it's about how to prevent burnout, go boating. So burnout and plastic surgery residents studied a novel strategy for resident burnout employing a senior plastic surgeon boating with senior faculty. So they sent out a confidential online questionnaire asking about the incidence and frequency of burnout and the quantity or number of times you went boating with me. And they found that residents who did not experience burnout reported boating an average of 5 times compared to 3, 1.7, and 0.5 in the mild, moderate, and severe groups. So higher rates of boating with me lead to less professional burnout. And then when they graduate, God, we're so proud of them. So proud of them, and are for the rest of their careers. It's just find joy in residents and fellows. I certainly do every day. Research and innovation. I did have a research career that Jerry knows about quite a bit. These are my mentors at the University of Washington. John Harlan, the chief of hematology, and Bob Wynn, the chief of the head of surgical research. And John had developed this monoclonal antibody that bound to the adhesion receptor on neutrophils, and so it could prevent neutrophil adherence to endothelium. And our hypothesis was in ischemia reperfusion injury. With reperfusion, you'd get activation of neutrophils that would stick to the endothelium, cause endothelial damage with edema, hemorrhage, thrombosis. And if you could prevent that adhesion, if you could block that adhesion at the time of reperfusion injury, you could potentially prevent this white blood cell mediated injury. And so we thought that was our hypothesis. And this was the first study in rabbit ears. So this is an ischemic reperfused rabbit ear. You can certainly see evidence of reperfusion in that. And in the antibody treated animals, no reperfusion injury. It's just like, wow, this is amazing. And you looked at it histologically. This is the control where you can see lots of neutrophils adherent to the endothelium with evidence of edema, hemorrhage, neutrophils out in the interstitium, and normal in the antibody-treated animals. We did a hemorrhagic shock model in rabbits and found that in the controls, this is the ears. So significant edema in the controls and significant reduction in the treated down to near the sham-operated ones. So this resulted in a publication in PNAS that wound up with over 250 citations. Did this in a rabbit flap model, significantly improved random flap survival, and then a hemorrhagic shock model in rabbits, where we found that in the controls, all 7 had died following severe hemorrhagic shock and then resuscitation, whereas only 2 of 7 had died in the antibody treated. That led to a JCI publication with over 500 citations. And then we did a model in primates. Bill Molesky actually did this, and this is the resuscitation volume in the control versus the resuscitation volume needed in the antibody treated. So it looked like it significantly protected from hemorrhagic shock and resuscitation. So is this the magic bullet for reperfusion injury? So we finally did after several preclinical studies, we did a expanded multi-center clinical trial looking at hemorrhagic shock with patients with a blood pressure less than 90, which in preclinical studies we found was predicted a 50% mortality. So if you had hemorrhagic shock from trauma and a blood pressure less than 90, you had a 50% mortality. And we thought that was a prime target population. We actually got waiver of informed consent from the FDA and the UW to do this study. The first time the FDA had granted waiver of consent. And so the goal was to save dying patients, save patients requiring massive transfusions after trauma. We thought this would be a great population, and wound up in the Seattle Times. New trauma drug is saving lives. There I am in front of Harborview. The phase 2 multi-center clinical trial, though, not so good. We found in the placebo there was only a 10% mortality when we had expected a 50% mortality. So with that small mortality, obviously we weren't going to see a treatment effect, and we didn't really in the treated patients. And we found that it was safe, but there was no treatment effect on crystalloid volume, ICU stay, ventilator days, mortality, and only a slight suggestion of benefit in pulmonary and cardiac failure. So we went from 1988 to 2003 through the cellular and molecular biology of adhesion to animal models, phase 1 trials, and then a phase 2 multi-center trial with waiver of consent. And here we are at the end. We've won. So not saving lives. Why? Well, because of the perverse incentives that are inherent in research like this. So we had waiver of informed consent so that we could enroll dying patients. We had expected a 50% mortality. But centers were paid $12,000 to enroll a patient. So guess what? Patients only needed one blood pressure, less than 90, and a lot of them found it. And so we had patients sitting up in bed signing their own consent. So that's not the population we were looking for. Other anti-adhesion trials in myocardial infarction, stroke, and multiple sclerosis all turned out negative. So there are no magic bullets. That's the bottom line. A reperfusion injury is a drug industry pariah. You mention it now and they'll say, walk away. So research lessons. Without a demonstrated clinical application, medical research isn't worth much, that's for sure. But beware of perverse incentives. The wrong inclusion and exclusion criteria will kill your trial. But most importantly, if you fail, even if you fail big, don't bail. I bailed. I didn't renew my R01 grit, and it is the single greatest regret of my career. There's always another question to ask. So, as I said, I first gave this talk at the American Association of Plastic Surgeons in 2018 when I was the president. And as Lee pointed out, I've been involved in a number of organizations over the years, starting as chair of the Research Council in 2000. And my wife said, why? Why do you like working for free? No, I like working with great people. That's what I love about it, and to make plastic surgery better. So the mission of the AAPS is providing scholarly leadership in plastic surgery. And it's the elite academic organization within plastic surgery. We have the American Society of Plastic Surgeons that includes all plastic surgeons, and the AAPS is elite. Only 0.5% of board-certified surgeons are admitted in any given year. It is the oldest, most prestigious organization in plastic surgery. Meetings, less than 10% acceptance, so it is the best of the best. No concurrent sessions. Aesthetic and reconstructive symposia that are great. And it's about mentoring and developing future plastic surgery leaders. That's really the purpose of it. And there are, of course, other elite surgical organizations. Diana Farmer is the president of the American Surgical Association, the oldest, most prestigious surgical organization that has membership limited to 300 surgeons from all specialties. So that is definitely an elite organization. And then every specialty has this. The American Association of Thoracic Surgeons is an academic meritocracy. So there are similar organizations in every specialty. So for the AAPS, the values are integrity, scholarship, leadership, stewardship, and fellowship. So I'm going to end talking about fellowship. So here's the 2018 AAPS in Seattle getting together. This is fellowship, being with our founder, Lauren Engrove, alumni, faculty at other places around the country. That's fellowship. Here we are just last month at the Centennial AAPS in San Diego with faculty and residents. For the late Joe Gruss on the right, the pioneer in craniofacial surgery, with Henry Kawamoto, another pioneer in craniofacial surgery. That's fellowship. Two of my dear friends on the right, Joe Cerletti, and in the middle, Andy Lee. Joe Cerletti, the chief at Penn. Andy Lee at the time was the inaugural chair of plastic surgery at Hopkins, and Andy was my junior resident at Mass General, and we've been academic soulmates ever since. This is fellowship. So there I am with Andy and my dear friend Susan McKinnon, who's been a mentor to me throughout my career at the Hand Association meeting. And if you want to see what I look like with Susan McKinnon's glasses on, signing the dinner check, that's me there. So with Andy and his wife and my wife in Shanghai, in a meeting in Hawaii, at another meeting in Puerto Rico, it's been great fellowship. So networking, being around other surgery leaders opens opportunities. It really does. It's introducing the next generation to surgical leaders within these elite organizations. And for me, it led to this. This is the board office in Phoenix of the American Board of Plastic Surgery with Barry Noon, the executive director, Mike Bentz, chair of the oral exam. At the time, I was the chair, Don Lalonde, the chair-elect. With my mentor from the Mass General, Jim May, also a past president of the AAPS and a past chair of the board. At the oral exam a couple of years ago, we got the 5 past oral exam chairs. These are my friends from around the country who I know through these organizations. And then at the American Surgical, the reason I go to the American Surgical is not for the plastic surgery papers, because if we're lucky, there's one. I go for this dinner on Thursday night with the other plastic surgery members of the AAPS. And Lee Poo was at the last dinner that we had in Chicago. This is the European Association of Plastic Surgeons, which is a sister organization of the AAPS. President, past president, and president-elect at one of their dinners. So it's AAPS networking through AAPS opens opportunities for outside camaraderie and joy with other plastic surgeon leaders around the world. And an example of that is this group, the American Alpine Workshop in Plastic Surgery, that I put on with my good friends Betsy Hall Findlay and Phil Blondeel in Zermatt in 2019. It is, as one of our members described it, a think tank of global plastic surgery leaders, 25 North American, 10 international, and the AAPS or URAPS membership is required. So that's the ticket to get in. And it's about clinical care, education, leadership, but really it's about camaraderie and joy. Here we are at that meeting in Zermatt. These are the members of the Alpine Workshop. And at our international meetings, we allow our adult kids to come. So there we are. There's my wife and my two kids there, and all of the other members' kids were there as well. And we have one award. It's the Turd Award, the Triumph of Unredeeming Daring Do, Unredeeming Reconstructive Daring Do. So it's for the worst disaster case, and not just a bad outcome, but has to be you really screwed up. So it's the highest honor of that organization is to win the Turd Award, and those are plastic surgery leaders from around the world who have won it in the past. And then, as I said, our adult kids were there. So there's the Vedder kids and the DISA kids from New York, Kuzan kids from Michigan, Neumeister kids from SIU. So they got fun hanging out together. So my good friend Bill Kuzan from Michigan, the past chief there, whenever we're around water at a meeting, we'll go sailing. So here we are at the ACS in San Diego. Hand micro nerve meeting in the Bahamas. Instead of staying in the hotel, we chartered a boat and lived on the boat. This led to the Alpine Workshop led to another organization that I love called Sailing Plastic Surgeons. So it's plastic surgeons who have big boats around the world, and we travel around the world sailing on each other's boats. And so this is the Rolex Regatta in Ilhabela, Brazil. This was founded by my dear friend Jim Grotting, who you remember well from surgery residency. So he founded this actually on Mackinac Island. Daryl Hodgkinson from Australia, the only plastic surgeon to win the prestigious Sydney to Hobart sailboat race. He came up with our Burgee, our SPS Burgee, and there's Jim and me sailing on his boat in the Whitsunday Islands of Australia. Great fun. So find joy in the fellowship of surgery. So I'm going to end with just some leadership lessons that I've learned over 21 years as chief of plastic surgery at the UW. And one is about leadership. So when you look up the Wikipedia definition of leadership, here it is, the process of social influence in which one person is able to enlist the aid and support of others in the accomplishment of a common task. And the key words here are others and common. It's not about you, the leader. It's about the team you build, support, and develop. In the end, it's about teamwork. You lead the team. But in the end, the team is more important than the leader. But as the leader, you create and inspire the team. An effective leader, therefore, must care more about the team than about him or herself. Your job as a leader is to serve your team. Devote yourself to addressing their problems. Develop their careers. Get them promoted. Make them successful. And if you do, you will have succeeded too. That's what leadership is all about. So lessons I've learned. Don't be afraid to surround yourself with people who are better than you. Great people attract more great people, but only pick team players. But I certainly have surrounded myself with people better than me, like Peter Nelligan and Richard Hopper. Strong programs attract great people, and in the end, it's about synergy. What you get in the end is more than the sum of the individual parts. Collaboration, talking back to our hand program. Collaboration and cooperation always win. Pigs get slaughtered. So collaborate with your competition. For us in plastic surgery, that's ortho, otolaryngology, ophthalmology, dermatology, oral surgery, and create joint programs like we do in hand. You get cross-departmental appointments, and in the end, everybody wins, and the institution loves it. Create and maintain an environment of mutual trust, respect, and support, both with your faculty, colleagues, residents. We only win by working together. And it's all about home. So I travel the country and the world, but I really put my focus on the home front. My program, make it a leader within the institution. Promote your faculty and programs within the institution. And Jerry did that when he was at the UW. Become a respected leader in your university. But don't forget the real home. It's the most important of all, and this is my real home. My wife on the left, Susan Heckbert, MD, PhD, internist turned epidemiologist, she's had a far greater impact in medicine than I certainly ever will. And I'm really proud of her. My daughter Katie and son Nick, very proud of them, both software engineers. And in the end, it's about balance, balancing clinical care, education, scholarship, and work and home. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every challenge is an opportunity. And sometimes I need to tell myself that, because sometimes I have way more opportunities than I need. And then life. If you're always willing to give more than you take, you'll always get far more back in return. So is my life stress-free? No, I wish. A constant barrage of opportunities. Faculty promotion, wellness, retention, recruitment, harmony, university, hospital politics, resident staff issues, association stuff. I'm done with all that now. And fortunately for me, I have no home stress, which is really nice. Managing stress, balance it with joy. Every day, every week, and every month. And you might say, well, I'm not you. I'm not a chief professor, don't have residence fellows, a boat, whatever it is. But you are a surgeon with patients whose lives you change or save. You can share your joy with your young colleagues, your students, your staff, your family. You can form travel clubs. You can share your joy with your family, which is really important. The common woe is competition, reimbursement, regulations, continuous certification, frigging epic. It's
Don't worry. Be happy.
Turn your competition into colleagues. Become part of a team. Focus on efficiency. Continuous certification is not hard. It distinguishes you. Learn the tricks of EMR and let the residents help you take epic by the horns. And in the end, revel in the awesome power of surgery to save and rebuild lives, our patients and our own. Preventing burnout, find joy in what you do. Find your joy in surgery. Find something every day. Share it with your colleagues, trainees, family. Always look forward to the next opportunity to make a difference. The next opportunity to celebrate and share your joy. And I'll just finish with some images that always bring me joy. This is Harborview Medical Center in Seattle where I work, Lake Washington and the Cascade Mountains in the background, orca whales in our backyard of the Salish Sea, and what I love to do, sailing with my wife. So with that, thank you. Put my mask back on.
Yes. Nick, Dr. Vedder, I just can't say anything more succinct than you were worth the wait. It has been 3 years since we had this grand idea.
My first visiting professorship in 3 years, other than the Zoom ones that I hate.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So we are so glad to get you down here. It's, just a hop, skip, and a jump, really, today between Alaska and Southwest, and Sacramento's not so, in the wilderness.
I know.
People used to think it was, and
It's beautiful.
it's completely beautiful. It's our little secret. We try to tell people, despite not having orcas, we have our, we have our wild turkeys. How could you beat that? In any event, really, just a spectacular, timely, important talk. I think all of us have struggled with these last 2 years.
Yeah.
And many, particularly the senior faculty, I think, and the surgical residents who were at the forefront, stuck it out. We sucked it up. We did these 2 years. And I think the loss of fellowship, the loss of these interactions and the things that make academic surgery special.
We kept voting throughout, though.
I think that's important. Outside activities. I think that's what helped people, in Sacramento. You could ski. You could run on the parkway. It really, I think, helped. But anyway, I just want to say thank you again. We have we'll take pictures of everything later,
gorgeous.
But we have a lovely little sort of the DNA that as you came in.
Beautiful.
Reminder of your time here in Davis.
Fantastic.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really a pleasure.
Really an honor. Thank you. So, looking forward to the day.
We have a few minutes in case anybody has a question about joy.
Yeah.
Dr. Granger, it looks like you're about to make a move there. Dr. Water.
Thanks again.
You've had several opportunities.
Yes, good. But thank you again for visiting. It was absolutely wonderful, and sharing all that really lifetime of wisdom. We have the opportunity here to establish some greater collaborations, especially in our hand surgery. And I hope that we take part in that. We have new faculty coming aboard.
Yeah.
We're really energized and excited about it. And as you mentioned, one of your current trainees, Robbie Sue. So we're looking.
Yeah, he's
very forward.
totally committed to that. Yep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Nick, enjoy a lecture, and congratulations. I have questions regarding how to kind of set up the environmental neutral respect. It's not that easy to say. For example, if you're orthopedic hand surgeon, you're a plastic hand surgeon, you do the same procedure. Like sometimes you will say, hey, I do better than the other. How you kind of communicate with your orthopedic hand colleagues, say, hey, I may do better than you are, or something you'll be better at me. And so this is a problem that I don't have a problem. I say you do more of this soft tissue, they do more bones, and I say fine. But the real competition when you do the same procedure.
Yeah.
Let's say plastic surgeon do distal radius. They do it all distal
So
radius.
we share it. So for the last 31 years, I've shared a hand clinic with Doug Hannell, my partner in orthopedics. I sit here, he sits there, my fellow's here, his fellow's there, we have senior residents, and every day we're sharing cases and asking each other about cases. So he's one of the world experts in distal radius fractures. So if I have a complex case, I'll ask, Doug, what do you think about this? And then sometimes I'll ask to do the case with him. Still, and likewise a complex, soft tissue case. Even though he's trained in microsurgery, we used to do all the lower extremity flaps together. He'll ask me about soft tissue stuff. So it's an exchange. It's leveraging each other's strengths to make the sum better. And our residents and our fellows benefit from it, and we benefit from it too. But you can't force respect. It has to develop. And the way we did it is from the ground up. But I think it's out there, and it should be there, because we each have things to learn from each other, and we each do a lot of the same things and do them very well. But some of us have special interest, and so I'll funnel some of the stuff this way or that way, but we'll all wind up doing some of the basic stuff together.
Well, you certainly set a good example. That's right. You're the one of the best, strongest hand surgery program in the country.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think those comments apply not just to competition. Surgeons are competitive by nature, which is part of what makes us good, but it's not limited to different departments within our own department, within our own divisions. There are circumstances where we compete, but learning how to turn that competition into collaboration elevates everything we do.
And leveraging each other's strengths to.
And
make
it
it
all
all
of a
better.
sudden changes when you really need help.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
of a sudden that vascular surgeon or somebody that said something about it, you need them to sort of bail you out. All of a sudden you realize, that was a lot of wasted energy
Yes.
in not being part of the team at the end of the day, because it is ultimately the benefit of the patient.
Yeah.
Any comments from any of the residents while we have Dr. Vedder about joy?
Look for it, find it, build it, make it. Your life will be better.
We'll talk about boats later.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Terrific.